Hello and welcome to a special podcast for the eShopperReviews 2021 Game Awards. I'm Jen Ip.
And I'm Jake McNeil.
And this week we'll be revealing the finalists and winners for awards in various categories. Today, for day one of the awards, we will be looking at specialty awards for games on the Nintendo Switch in 2021. Why specialty awards? What's so special about it?
I tend to look at the specialty awards as kind of a catch-all for various things that don't quite fit into the other categories. They're not really technical aspects of the game for the most part. They don't really have anything to do with genre, not anything negative like I have on my day 3. And it's not my overall game of the year. It's just kind of other things that are noteworthy about games, but didn't really quite fit into the other categories, I guess.
Well, you want to get started?
Absolutely. Let's go.
First category is 2020 Second Chance Awards.
This is the award category for games that actually came out in 2020, but I just didn't get around to in time for the 2020 eShopperReviews Awards. And in retrospect, having played these games, they were just so good that I feel like these are the games that would have had the strongest chance to have been name-checked in last year's awards if I'd only played them in time. I only have so much time to play games. I only have so much money, so I can't have played everything, and these were the games that I just missed last year. Well, year before last now, since we're in 2022 now. So, going from 10 to 1, reverse order, number 10 is Part-Time UFO. This was just a really charming little arcade-style game. Great co-op, lots of fun. Sad that I missed it in 2020. Number 9 was Jurassic World Evolution Complete Edition. This is a really great management sim, and it looks beautiful on Nintendo Switch. I really was not expecting this game to port so well to Nintendo Switch.
I didn't care for that game.
I know you preferred Planet Zoo on PC, but sadly we don't have that on Nintendo Switch, so...
That needs to be fixed.
Well, I mean, I'd like everything to come to Switch, but we only have so much we can play with. For what it is, and for what we have available to us on Nintendo Switch, I felt Jurassic World Evolution Complete Edition was a really excellent game in the genre. Number 8 is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. This is a collection of Parcheesi and chess and checkers and teeny little games like that, but they're all done really well. It's really multiplayer friendly. It's got a lot of good online options. It's a really simple premise, but it's a simple premise done well. Number 7 is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. This is a solid port / remake-ish, somewhere in that kind of territory of an excellent, not open world, but fairly open-ended JRPG. Really well done. It's hard for me to say for sure whether I think more fondly of the first Xenoblade or Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which was made for the Nintendo Switch, but I feel like the first one suffers less for being on Nintendo Switch. It doesn't run into the same kinds of issues, and it benefits also from the Nintendo Switch version being developed after the second game and taking advantage of a lot of quality of life additions. Number 6 is Batu Tabatu. Weird name for a game.
I don't remember this one.
I don't think you've played this. I don't think you've seen it. This is a deceptively simple puzzle game where you are sliding squares across a screen, but it is really elegant in its design. It's really enjoyable. It really has a good hook to it to just make it fun to play. And it has a bunch of different variations within the game where if you don't like one of the different gameplay modes in the game, switch to a different variation of it and it plays like almost a completely different game in the mechanics and all of that. It's still based on the same basic premise of you have colored squares and you're sliding them into other squares. Just excellent puzzle game.
Okay.
Number 5, and I never in a million years would have expected this to make a list like this, Moero Crystal H. This is an ecchi game. It is.
Wow.
Yes. This is a first-person dungeon crawler, and this is the one game on Nintendo Switch that has done the best job of bringing back to mind the Etrian Odyssey games, those first-person dungeon crawlers with good JRPG elements. And it actually works in some cool original elements of its own, too. Like it has kind of a monster collecting, not quite like Pokemon, but a little like Pokemon, where you're building up a party of monster girls. And the cool thing about it is you also get a backup party that augments the stats of your active party. There's all kinds of really creative and well-implemented systems in this game. It's just a game that you will never want to play in front of another human being because the topic matter is so embarrassingly, ridiculously objectifying. For obvious reasons. It's an ecchi game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I try my best not to prejudge a game based on its topic matter, genre, whatever. And this is one where ecchi games tend to be pretty bad, usually. And this one really surprised me by being actually really good. There's a previous game in the series called Moero Chronicle Hyper. That one is still decent, but not as good as Moero Crystal H. Anyway, there's my recommendation. Adults only kind of thing. I mean, there's no nudity or anything like that in it, but
it's an ecchi game.
Yeah, it's an ecchi game. Number 4, and this one you have seen me played and actually played with me, Pure Pool.
Oh, yes.
I am not a huge fan of Pool. I'm not a huge enthusiast. I've played a fair number of these games to review them, but up until this point, nothing had particularly impressed me. And then I played this game, and it is just such a well-crafted simulation of the sport that even if you're not a fan of Pool, you have to stand back and appreciate just how well made this game is.
Oh, yeah. It had a good ambience to it, too.
Oh, yes. Number 3 is Crosscode. This is an excellent top-down action RPG. It works in some nice top-down platformer elements, really good exploration, just a really excellent entry in the genre. Number 2, and we actually played this game just last night, Boomerang Fu.
Oh, I still love that game.
Man, I wish I had played this game in 2020. I love this game so much. There's not much to it in terms of content. There's only a few different game options. You can change settings a bit, but mostly it's just you jump into the game and you get going. But man, once you get going, it is extremely fun in a party scenario. Mm-hmm. Me and a group of friends were playing this game into the late hours last night. Tons and tons of fun.
We've played it several times, and every single time there's a lot of screaming and yelling at each other.
Indeed. And my number 1 game that I wish I had played in 2020, but sadly I just didn't get around to it until this year, and that is Doom Eternal. When I reviewed 2016 Doom on the Switch, I think it's fair to say that I went against the norm and I did not like the port of this game to Switch. I felt like the visuals were too blurry, and it's such a fast-paced game that having blurry visuals, for me, made it harder to play, and I just didn't care for it. And so I really was not looking forward to playing Doom Eternal on Switch. And man, my view changed 180 on this game. I think Doom Eternal is a damn near miraculous port. It is really good looking on Switch, obviously still a downgrade from other versions of the game. I mean, that's a given at this point. But given the way the game looks, given how well it plays, it is stunning that they were able to get Doom Eternal to work this well on Nintendo Switch. I was floored by it. I highly recommend it. My number 1 game that definitely would have been name-checked in the 2020 eShopper Review Awards if I had played it in 2020.
Mm-hmm. So the next award is the top 10 games I wish I could have played before writing this, but didn't get around to doing in time.
Sadly, I can't play everything that comes out, and some games are more noteworthy than others just for one reason or another. These are the ones that I just couldn't play in time for the awards. My apologies. Maybe I'll mention this next year in the 2021 Second Chance Awards. So, going from 10 to 1, number 10, Ruined King, A League of Legends Story. Number 9, Unpacking. Number 8, Death's Door. Number 7, Chicory, A Colorful Tale. Number 6, No More Heroes 3. Number 5, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Number 4, Game Builder Garage. Number 3, There Is No Game, Wrong Dimension. Number 2, Mario Party Superstars. And my number 1 game that I really wish I could have played before doing all of this, but sadly was not able to get the chance to do, was Shovel Knight Puzzle Dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
So all of those games I just mentioned, you will not hear them mentioned anymore throughout the course of these awards because I haven't played them. I really want to, haven't played them. Sorry.
So, what was the best port/remake?
The finalists for this category are Subnautica Below Zero.
Okay.
Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Quake. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Crisis 3 Remastered. And the best port/remake award goes to Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
I'm not surprised by that whatsoever.
For the sake of this award, I'm going to put aside talk about Bowser's Fury completely. I'm not even going to mention that, which is crazy because that's kind of like half of the game here. But no, for this category, I'm just looking at Super Mario 3D World. And here's the thing. I think everyone was pretty certain that this game would get ported from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo's been doing that with a lot of their Wii U games, and this was kind of one of the biggest games on that platform. It just makes sense. And I think a lot of people expected that this would be a port along the lines of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which was just a really cut and dry, copy-paste job, more or less. They really did not do much with it, and then they released it at $60. Kind of a really lazy, just make some extra bucks kind of move. And I don't think people expected not only for Nintendo to pack a whole other game with this that they just created when they released this, but that they would actually make multiple improvements to the original game when they ported it. This is not a lazy port at all. Not only did they increase the resolution from 720p to 1080p with a 60 frames per second frame rate. Not only do we get a performance boost, but they also added in new gyroscopic motion controls, improved movement speed. There's online multiplayer now. There's co-op gameplay for the Captain Toad levels. They really went the full mile to make sure that this game was going to be as close to definitive as possible on the Nintendo Switch. Given that I think that people would have certainly paid money for a straight-up lazy port of the game if they chose to do that. We even have an example of that in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. They could have easily done that and gotten away with it, and people would have grumbled and then handed their money over anyway. It deserves to be celebrated that they actually put some real effort into making this port of a game better than it was on the original platform.
Best compilation/collection.
Again, going through the list of finalists first. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2.
Why am I not surprised?
Doomslayer's Collection. Crisis Remastered Trilogy. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Castlevania Advanced Collection. And the winner of the Best Compilation/Collection Award is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Okay, so a moment ago, I said I was putting aside that whole Bowser's Fury thing, and now I bring it back into the conversation, and that's this. You already have an excellent port of a game that was way more than anyone expected Nintendo to do with this port from the Wii U. But then they shocked everyone by announcing that packed in with this game that was already going to sell tons, they made a whole new game and put it in there. And it wasn't even just a simple, we made Super Mario 3D World and then some more levels. That's, I think, what a lot of people expected. No, they actually took a crack at making an open world Mario game on a small scale. It's a fairly short game, But this kind of gives us a peek into what an open world Mario game could potentially look like. It plays great, it looks fantastic, and it uses a lot of the same mechanics as Super Mario 3D World, but bringing that into an open world kind of setting really opens things up, for lack of a better way of putting it. And for them to include these two games together, like I said, already Super Mario 3D World was going to be a great deal, and to toss an extra new game in with that just made this a no-brainer. This is definitely a compilation you're going to want.
Best game for kids and casual players.
The finalists for this category are New Pokemon Snap, Rain on Your Parade, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury,
oh gosh,
Cruisin' Blast, Fly Together, and the winner of the best game for kids and casual players is Tetris Effect Connected.
What?
Tetris is
a classic.
Tetris is universal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can play Tetris. This award isn't just the best kiddie game award. This is the best game for kids and casual players. And I feel like no matter what your age, you can play Tetris, and odds are good you like Tetris. But even more than that, this isn't just talking about Tetris. This is talking about Tetris Effect Connected, which I would argue is quite possibly the best version of Tetris ever made. It's visually gorgeous. It's very welcoming to just about anyone who might want to get their hands on it. But more to that, they have all sorts of different modes and features. They have multiplayer competitive stuff for those who prefer that side of things. They have a no-fail mode for someone who just wants to play the game without worrying about dying all the time. They have a bunch of different kinds of challenge modes, different ways to play the game. I feel like while this sort of award seems like it's tailored more for the childish cartoony stuff, Tetris Effect Connected is a game for everyone, and I feel like this game does that better than just about anything else in 2021.
Okay, I suppose that's fair. I would have chosen Pokemon Snap, but that's just me.
Well, maybe next year we'll have you run the awards. And you can play, 600-700 games to review?
I'll pass. I'm good.
There was my passive-aggressive comment for this podcast.
Next up, best multiplayer.
This one actually really kind of made me go back and forth between the top two. I ultimately decided on the winner here, but let me just say that the first runner-up, which I'll get to in a bit, very nearly took it. The finalists are WarioWare Get It Together, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury,
Again,
Clone Drone in the Danger Zone, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, Monster Hunter Rise, and the winner for Best Multiplayer is Fly Together.
No!
I know you wanted Monster Hunter Rise to win this one, and it very nearly did. But when I thought about it, while playing multiplayer in Monster Hunter Rise is tons of fun. It's one of the best things about that game. I feel like one of the things about playing multiplayer in Monster Hunter is you can kind of go off and do your thing. You can join your group and fight the monster. And what you're doing doesn't necessarily require a lot of coordination and teamwork. I'm sure when you're taking on some of the tougher monsters, it can make the difference between victory and defeat. But especially early on in the game, as long as you do well and as long as no one else dies and makes you lose the mission, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Fly Together is a game where you absolutely need to coordinate with everyone else who's playing. You need to make sure that your plane routes are not intersecting with their plane routes. You need to make sure that they're getting the planes from the airports while you're doing something else. And this game in co-op has a really great feel to it that's kind of a little reminiscent of games like Overcooked, where you really need to have that coordination with the other people sitting next to you. However, as a bonus, it also has a really good competitive mode where instead of playing co-op with the other players, now you're trying to beat them at their own game. And this works pretty well too. And being that the co-op is so good and the competitive play is so good, I felt like those two things made this just edge out Monster Hunter Rise for best multiplayer game.
Okay, yeah, I can agree to that.
Reluctantly, huh?
Reluctantly. So a new category that's coming into 2021 is Best New Free-to-Play Game.
Yes. Previously, I just had Best Value, but there's so many good free-to-play games that I felt like that deserved its own category. Because how can you beat free if it's a good game?
Exactly.
It's hard to get a better value than that. Mm-hmm. So this is so that those games don't take over the Best Value category. The finalists for this category are Retrograde Arena, Super Bomberman R Online, Super Animal Royale, Hexseed, and the winner for Best New Free-to-Play Game is Sky Children of the Light. This is a game made by the That Game Company game company. These are the same folks who made Flower and Journey. And this is a beautiful, gorgeous game. They easily could have sold this for $20 or $30, and it would have been worth that price. But it's free.
That's nice.
I highly recommend anyone go and try this game, download it. There is some monetization in it, but it's monetization you can easily ignore. You don't need to buy any of it. It's all cosmetic stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. And it is a gorgeous, beautiful game. I highly recommend it.
Best Value.
These are games that actually cost money, but for the money you're paying, these are games that I feel like you're getting the most bang for your buck. Mm-hmm. The finalists for this category are Doom Slayer's Collection, Rushed Rally Origins, Crisis Remastered Trilogy, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Castlevania Advanced Collection, and the winner for Best Value is Islanders. This is one of my favorite games of 2021.
See, I did not care for that.
Yeah, well, you can be wrong.
Fine.
No, I know it's not a game for everyone. I will freely admit that. But for me, I absolutely loved it. This is why I gave it an A- instead of an A++, because I know not every game that is for me is for everyone else. But this game really spoke to me. I loved playing it. I loved to keep going back to it. And the thing that makes this such a high value is it is a $5 game. And I feel like if you're not sure whether or not this game is for you, it's kind of a mix of puzzle and strategy elements. That $5 price tag really should be the final thing that convinces you, you know what, I'm not risking much to buy this. Let me give it a try. I highly recommend you do. Jen might not like it.
Okay, if you're looking for a relaxing game that just, tickles your brain a little bit, like maybe something to play while you're about to fall asleep. That's the sort of game I imagine this one to be.
You know what? Okay, sure. And again, for $5, you're not risking much to buy it.
Funniest game.
The finalists for this category are Unmetal, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, The Procession to Calvary, Clone Drone in the Danger Zone, Rain on Your Parade, and the winner for funniest game is Astrologaster.
Oh,
yeah.
I loved the humor in that.
I believe I showed you some of this one.
It's very British, which makes sense.
That, and it's got this kind of Shakespearean tone to it, which offsets the ridiculous nature of the diagnoses this quack doctor is giving to his patients.
He's like a quack doctor / counselor.
All the puzzles in the game are him reading the stars to try and find out what ails his patient. And on top of that, beyond the ridiculous topic matter of the game, is the fact that this guy, the main character, is kind of a weasel. He's clearly at times just looking to take care of himself, to look out for his own best interests, and on occasion to find the best way to sleep with some of his patients.
Oh, God.
And despite the fact that he's in many ways a very unlikable guy, the game still keeps the tone lighthearted. He's still kind of a likable character, even though he's kind of a creep. And everything about this game I just thought was really amusing. The tone was pitch perfect. And especially in light of the similarities you can make to kind of current situations that are going on in the world today.
Still going on today.
Unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I feel like the way that this game kind of makes light of those is well called for.
Cathartic.
Yeah, cathartic, I think, is a good way to describe it, yeah.
Most underrated game.
The idea behind this award is I look at the review scores for games on Metacritic, and I contrast those with how good I think the game is. And these are games which, whether they're good, bad, whatever, I feel like the rating that they got on Metacritic does not match how good of a game they are. These are much better than I think Metacritic gives them credit for. The finalists for this are Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, which got a 76 on Metacritic. Sonic Colors Ultimate, which got a 66 on Metacritic. New Pokemon Snap, which got a 79 on Metacritic. Super Bomberman R Online, which got a 61 on Metacritic. Axiom Verge 2, which got a 76 on Metacritic. And the winner for most underrated game goes to Islanders, which got a 75 on Metacritic. And yes, I see you looking at me, Jen. I know that you don't like this game as much as I do. But here's the thing. As much as I freely admit, yes, I understand this game isn't for everyone, I still feel like 75 is much lower than this game deserves. Maybe its audience is a little more niche than some other games, but if you are the type of person who will enjoy this kind of laid-back game, there is so much to love about this, and I would have easily expected this game to have gotten a score 10 or 15 points above what it got, and I'm still befuddled that it only got a 75.
Most overlooked games.
These are games that do not even have a score on Metacritic. At least the Nintendo Switch version of the game does not.
Oh.
And I feel like these games all deserved more attention than they got. That's not to say that the attention they got was bad, it's just they got so little of it and needed more. So, the finalists for this category are The Solitaire Conspiracy, Pixel Puzzle and Watch Collection, Cosmic Express, Hexseed, Super Cable Boy, and the winner for Most Overlooked Game is Crysis 3 Remastered. Now let me explain. Again, I said this is for the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Obviously, when Crysis 3 came out nearly a decade ago, it got plenty of attention then at the time. But it really surprised me that the port of this game to Nintendo Switch didn't really seem to draw much attention. Firstly, because it's a major release. Second of all, because it is a game that was a high watermark for graphics at the time of its release. And I think a lot of people were wondering how well is this game going to run on Nintendo Switch. And that is such a huge question about this game. For it to go unanswered largely by critics is shocking to me. People want to know how well it runs. For the record, it runs great on Switch.
It does. It's gorgeous.
It's not perfect. There are definitely areas where it's a downgrade from other modern platforms. But if you're comparing it to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions, this is actually better looking than those on a Nintendo handheld. And the fact that this game runs as well as it does on Nintendo Switch makes it absolutely stunning. And that made it all the more puzzling for me that this game went overlooked by critics this last year.
Most original.
So for this game, I try to pick games that either have a topic matter or game mechanics that just there's nothing else like it out there. The finalists for this category are Astrologaster, Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny,
Not surprised.
Everhood, Loop Hero,
Not surprised.
Umurangi Generation, and the award for most original game goes to Rain on Your Parade. This game has you playing a malicious storm cloud, going and raining on all of the humans and making their days miserable. But beyond that, you're actually using the physics of absorbing water and dropping it to solve puzzles. Maybe you're absorbing oil and using it to spread fires. Maybe you're guiding your little storm cloud around a Metal Gear Solid style level trying to sneak up on enemies. It's really creative, really funny, and it just takes its weird premise and does so much different and fun and wildly inventive stuff with it. So yeah, definitely the most original game I played in 2021.
A new award for 2021, Most Efficient Use of File Storage Space.
In previous years, I have an award on day 3, which I'm not going to name it properly here, but it's like the why the heck is this taking up so much space in my file storage award? And I felt like there needed to be kind of a polar opposite to that. There needed to be a game where it's like, I don't know how the heck they managed to fit this much game into this little space. The finalists for this category are Metroid Dread, taking up about 4.13 gigabytes. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, taking up 2.97 gigabytes. Crossbow Blood Knight, taking up 579 megabytes. And the winner for the award for most efficient use of file storage space goes to Islanders, which takes up a teeny tiny 154 megabytes. And given how nice that game looks, its full 3D graphics, given how well it runs, just that it takes up less space than most pixel art games for this 3D presentation really surprised me. It's not only a game that I really enjoy, but it's a game that I just cannot fathom how they managed to fit it down to such a small space. There are some things that I can look at and say, well, it doesn't have much in the way of textures. It doesn't have a huge, extensive voiced soundtrack. But even so, they managed a real feat to get this to fit on Nintendo Switch in such a small file size.
The wow, this game was way better than I expected award.
Like my naming scheme?
Yeah.
So, this award, surprise, surprise, is for the game that is way better than I expected. The finalists for this award are Crysis 3 Remastered, Pixel Puzzle and Watch Collection, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Super Cable Boy, Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville Complete Edition, and the winner for the Wow, this game is way better than I expected award is Hexseed. This is a free-to-play game that, on its surface, looks simple. I would even say it looks boring. There's not much going on the surface level. But there's a few things that really impressed me about this game. Number one, despite that it's free to play, there is no aggressive monetization here. The only monetization in this game is, once you are done with the massive number of puzzles in this game, well, if you want more, you can spend more to get more puzzles. That's it. There's no bugging you with ads or microtransactions or any of that. It's just, hey, we gave you a really great free game, and if you want more of it, you can pay to get more of it.
That's nice.
But beyond this, as a puzzle game, the mechanics of this game are really compelling. It's inventive. Basically, it takes Minesweeper, that classic Windows game where you're trying not to click on the mines and you're trying to click around them. It takes that and it reimagines it as a hex-based game with slightly different mechanics where you have some tiles that give you a warning about what's around them, but some other tiles say, well, in this area, there's this many bombs or this many spaces you can't click on, or along this line, there's this many. And because it plays around with those mechanics, it allows for them to create these puzzles that are specifically designed for the game, rather than have it be randomized and oops, I clicked on a mine because it just randomized it and I don't have enough information for this. As a puzzle game, it's great, but I didn't expect to get a game this good for free without strings attached. And this is a great game for free with no strings attached.
Best third-party publisher.
To be clear, this is not to say that this publisher, their behavior behind the scenes is acceptable, it's good, it's whatever. This is just talking about the games that they released on Nintendo Switch, how many, were they good, that kind of stuff. So do not take this as a judgment for the kind of behavior of this company. And you'll understand why I say that in a moment.
Okay.
The finalists for this category are Devolver Digital, who released Loop Hero, Boomerang X, and Elysia. Draknek, which released Sokobond, A Good Snowman is Hard to Build, Cosmic Express, and A Monster's Expedition. Activision Blizzard, which released Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, Crash Bandicoot Crashiversary Bundle, Crash Bandicoot Quadrilogy Bundle, and Blizzard Arcade Collection. Koei Tecmo, who released Atelier Ryza 2 Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy, Atelier Sophie, The Alchemists of the Mysterious Book DX, Atelier Firis, The Alchemists and the Mysterious Journey DX, Atelier Lydie and Suelle, The Alchemists and the Mysterious Paintings DX, Atelier Mysterious Trilogy Deluxe Pack, and Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. Sega, who released Shin Megami Tensei 5, Persona 5 Strikers, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne Remaster, Sonic Colors Ultimate, and Valkyria Chronicles plus Valkyria Chronicles 4 Bundle. And the winner for Best Third-Party Publisher goes to Capcom, who this year released Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter Stories 2, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Ace Attorney Turnabout Collection, and Capcom Arcade Stadium. I didn't mention a few of their other games that just weren't quite as good, because Ghosts and Goblins Resurrected, or whatever it was called, was just not that good. But I will say, this year, this award came down to basically Capcom and Sega. Both Capcom and Sega were some of the best things Nintendo Switch had going for it this year. And in the end, I feel like what edged it out was the 1-2 punch of Monster Hunter Rise and The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Those two games were just so good. Sega did great work on Nintendo Switch this year, but I gotta hand it to Capcom. Capcom knocked it out of the park.
Jake's top 3 most played games of 2021.
Nintendo has a year in review page where you can look up your statistics. And they had something similar in previous years. I think it's fun to kind of explore what was I playing the most this year? And some of these will probably come as a complete surprise to our listeners who maybe don't know about my game playing habits. My number 3 most played game in 2021 was Monster Hunter Rise with 42 hours on the clock.
Okay.
Number 2 was Among Us with 70 hours on the clock.
Not surprised.
And my number 1 most played game of 2021 was Disgaea 5 Complete with 150 hours. The funny thing is I had completely forgotten that there was a point where I was playing Disgaea 5 for hours and hours and hours on end. That was in the beginning of the year, so it completely slipped my mind. There's also a funny note here that Travel Mosaics 3 Tokyo Animated very nearly took the 3rd place spot here. And I noticed that this changed right up at the end of the year because I was playing more Monster Hunter Rise. So Monster Hunter snuck in and took the top spot. But yes, I do like my Picross games, and that was basically the 4th place entry if they actually showed a 4th place.
Okay. Jake's top 10 most anticipated games of 2022.
I actually kind of surprised myself with this list. I wasn't expecting that some of these games would even make this list, but when I looked at what's coming up, I was like, yeah, it's kind of the order that I think of them. Going from 10 to 1, number 10, Sonic Frontiers. Number 9, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Number 8, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know you're looking forward to that too. Number 7, Splatoon 3. Number 6, Triangle Strategy. Number 5, Bayonetta 3. Number 4, Rune Factory 5.
Yes.
Number 3, Sea of Stars. Number 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And number 1, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
I thought so.
How could I not pick that as my number 1? It's the sequel to what is arguably the best game on the Nintendo Switch. It's kind of a given.
Okay.
That's all for today. Please be sure to keep checking back throughout the week as we keep adding to this, and come back for day 2.
Bye.